Welcome everyone back to another episode of LNG Academy, the podcast where our mission is to spread LNG education to the world. Today, in our episode, we are going to dive into the world of LNG standards and codes. Joining me today is my co-host and LNG operations specialist, Mehdy Touil. Very happy to have you here today, Mehdy.
Hi, Alex.
So let's start at the very basics. Let's start by clarifying the distinction between codes and standards, sometimes commonly confused. Can you explain the difference between the two?
Absolutely, Alex. Codes and standards are related but distinct concepts. A code is a set of rules or regulations that are legally enforceable. These rules are typically developed by government agencies or industry organizations and are designed to ensure public safety, protect the environment, or promote other important public policy goals. Building codes, fire codes, and electrical codes are some good examples. On the other hand, a standard is a set of guidelines or requirements that are typically voluntary, but widely accepted and followed by a particular industry or profession. Standards are often developed by standards organizations or industry groups to promote consistency, interoperability, and quality across different products or services. The ISO 9001 for quality management and the ASTM standards for material testing are common examples of standards.
Okay, that's very helpful in clearing up the distinction between codes and standards. Thank you for that. You also mentioned specifications. Now, how do specifications differ from codes and standards?
Mm-hmm. Specifications provide detailed descriptions of the requirements that a product or service must meet. They are typically created by customer or buyers to ensure that the product or service they receive meets their specific needs or requirements. Unlike codes and standards, specifications are more specific to individual companies or products.
Okay, so if I get this straight, codes provide the rules, standards offer the guidelines, and specifications outline the specific requirements. That makes sense. Now let's explore the main codes and standards that govern the LNG industry globally. Can you shed some light on this, Mehdy?
Certainly. There are several codes and standards related to LNG on a global scale. For example, for shipping, we have the International Maritime Organization, IMO, code known as the IGC code. This code defines the design, construction, and equipment standards for ships carrying liquefied gases in bulk, including LNG. Another international code developed by the IMO is the International Gas Carrier IGF code, which provides safety requirements for gas carriers, including LNG vessels. On a national or regional level, there are codes like the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA Code 59A, which is a US standard outlining minimum fire protection requirements for the design, construction, and operation of LNG facilities. In Europe, you have the standard EN 1473 that provides safety requirements for LNG installation, including LNG storage and transportation. Japan has the Japanese Industrial Standard, JIS, with several standards related to LNG, such as those for LNG tanks and vessels, regasification systems, and fueling stations. Australia has the AS 4735, an Australian standard that defines the minimum safety requirements for LNG facilities, including storage, transportation, and regasification. Additionally, the globally recognized American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASME, standard B31.3, outlines the requirements for the design, construction, and operation of LNG piping systems.
Thank you for highlighting these important codes and standards, Mehdy. It's crucial for our listeners to be aware of these guidelines when working in the LNG industry. Now let's focus on the United States, where significant activity is expected in the next decade. Who are the regulating bodies for the LNG industry in the US?
In the United States, safety standards for LNG facilities are enforced by various regulatory agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. Some key regulatory bodies involved in enforcing safety standards for LNG facilities in the US include the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, FEMSA, which is a federal agency under the Department of Transportation, the DOT, responsible for regulating the safety of pipeline and the transportation of hazardous materials, including LNG. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, is another federal agency under the Department of Labor that ensures that safe and healthy working conditions for employees in the US, including the enforcement of safety standards for LNG facilities in the workplace. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, an independent agency, regulates the interstate transmission of natural gas and electricity, including LNG facilities involved in import and export activities. Additionally, state and local regulatory agencies may also be involved in enforcing safety standards for LNG facilities, depending on the jurisdiction.
Thank you for providing that overview of these bodies in the US. It's, again, crucial for our listeners to understand the entities responsible for enforcing these safety standards. Now let's touch upon the similarities between Canada and the US regarding LNG. Are there any notable similarities in the codes and standards between the two countries?
Yes, Alex. Canada and the US share similarities in their approach to LNG codes and standards. Both countries prioritize safety and environmental protection and the efficient operation of LNG facilities. While there are some differences due to specific jurisdictional requirements, many standards and codes used in the US do serve as a reference for LNG projects in Canada under different titles. Additionally, collaboration and information sharing between regulatory bodies in both countries help ensure alignment and consistency in codes and standards.
Okay, thanks, Mehdy, for highlighting the similarities between Canada and the US, taking it home a little bit. Regarding the LNG codes and standards, it's interesting to see the collaboration and alignment between these two countries. Now let's delve into the specific regulation in the US. What can you tell us more about 49 CFR Part 193?
So the regulation 49 CFR Part 193 is a regulation issued by FEMSA. This regulation specifically addresses the safety standards for LNG facilities, including the design, the construction and operation of LNG storage, liquefaction, and vaporization facilities. It outlines comprehensive requirements for the safe handling of and transportation of LNG, including measures to prevent accidents, mitigate risks, and ensure the protection of public safety and the environment.
Okay, looks like that is a very important regulation in the US LNG industry. It plays a vital role in ensuring the safety and security of LNG facilities and operations. Now, let's discuss how LNG project developers and operators can ensure compliance with these regulations. What steps do they need to take to adhere to the required standards?
Ensuring compliance with the regulation is crucial for LNG project developers and operators to maintain safety and operational integrity. There are some key steps that they can take, so they have to stay informed. It is essential to stay up to date with the latest regulation and standards related to LNG operations. Regularly monitoring updates from regulatory bodies, industry association, and standards organizations will help maintain compliance. Engage with the regulatory agencies. Building a collaborative relationship with regulatory agencies is beneficial. Seek guidance and clarification when needed, and proactively engage in discussions and consultations related to regulatory changes or proposed standards. Conduct regulatory assessments. You can perform comprehensive assessments of the project or the facility against applicable regulations and standards. You can identify any gaps or areas of non-compliance and develop action plans to address them promptly. Implement robust safety management systems. It is crucial. It should include policies, procedures, and processes that align with regulatory requirements. Regular audits and inspections should be conducted to ensure ongoing compliance. Training and competency development. Provide appropriate training and competency development programs to personnel involved in LNG operations. This ensures they are knowledgeable about safety protocols, regulatory requirements, and industry best practices. Documentation and record keeping. Maintain accurate and detailed documentation of compliance efforts, safety records, and regulatory inspections. This includes keeping records of maintenance activities, safety training, and emergency response plans. And the last one, engage third-party experts. You can seek the assistance of qualified third-party experts, such as consultants or engineering firms specializing in LNG regulations. Their expertise can provide valuable insights and support in maintaining compliance.
Wow, okay, great. That's a very detailed list. What is the cost normally associated, Mehdy, with any non-compliance to these?
Failure to comply with regulations in the LNG industry can have serious consequences for companies. Non-compliance may result in safety hazards, environmental damage, legal liabilities, and reputational damage. Regulatory bodies have the authority to impose penalties, fines, or even shut down operations that do not meet the required standards. Moreover, incidents or accidents caused by non-compliance compliance can result in injuries, loss of life, and significant financial losses. Therefore, it is crucial for LNG companies to prioritize compliance and stay ahead of the regulatory changes. By proactively monitoring and implementing the latest regulations, companies can mitigate risks, maintain a strong safety culture, protect the environment, and ensure the long-term sustainability of their operations.
That's true. And we have some glaring examples.
Oh yes. So several well-documented incidents serve as reminders of the consequences that can arise from non-compliance with the regulation in the LNG sector. For instance, the lengthy shutdowns of Shell Prelude's floating facility is a notable example. The facility experienced technical issues and delays in its startup due to non-compliance with safety and technical standards, resulting in significant financial losses and reputational damage. Similarly, the Hammerfest LNG plant in Norway faced operational challenges and shutdowns due to technical issues, leading to costly repairs and delayed productions. And more recently, the Freeport LNG experienced a major incident that we covered in depth in episode 1 of the LNG Academy, with a costly suspension of operations. These incidents highlight the importance of adhering to regulations to avoid disruptions, protect investment, and ensure the safe and reliable operation of the LNG facility.
Mehdy, how do you see the regulatory roadmap evolving?
Environmental concerns have become increasingly important in the LNG industry. With growing recognition of the need to reduce greenhouse gases and methane emissions and mitigate environmental impacts, there is a heightened focus on incorporating sustainability principles into LNG operations. Standards and codes play a vital role in addressing these concerns. They define requirements for environmental impact assessments, emissions monitoring, and mitigation measures throughout the LNG value chain. Additionally, standards are being developed to encourage the use of cleaner technologies, such as electrifications, carbon capture, ship engine technologies, or the use of LNG as a marine fuel. By adhering to these standards, LNG projects can demonstrate their commitment to environmental responsibility and contribute to a more sustainable energy future.
Again, thank you so much for outlining the essential steps for LNG project developers and operators to ensure compliance with the regulations. By following these measures, they can prioritize safety, meet regulatory requirements, and operate with confidence. Thanks again, Mehdy.
You're welcome, Alex.
Until next time, take care.
Goodbye.